A very good afternoon to all the students. I hope you guys are doing safe. So today we'll be continuing our C++ lecture and the topic for today is loops, inside which we'll be first doing for loops. So what exactly is for loop? We'll understand for loops by first understanding the syntax. Okay. So how do we write a for loop? We use the keyword for. Okay. So for inside the bracket, we'll first initialize our variable. So I'm just writing initialize here. So first thing you have to do is initialize. Then we put a condition and then we increment. Or we can also decrement. It depends on your question. So this is, and then you open brackets. So this is how you write a for loop, and inside you have to write a block of code. So as we all know that loop means that we are continuously playing something again. You're doing something in loop. You're doing it again and again. So that's what for loop is. Now we'll understand for loop by doing some questions. Okay, so suppose you want to print numbers from 1 to n. So how will you do it? There are two ways. Either you write a program in this way, where you'll first include the header file like any other program, then your namespace, start your program. Okay, so you want to print, right? So you'll just write cout. Suppose you want to here n, suppose here n equal to 5, right? So in this case you can just write here 1 cout 2 cout 3 cout 4 and at the end cout 5. Very easy, right? So the question was to print number from 1 to n and your n was 5. From 1 to 5 we have printed our numbers. Okay, so now let's compile our program. Okay, now let's run it. The program has compiled. Yeah, so you can see on the screen that numbers from 1 to 5 are printed. But each time you have to write a print statement, that is a cout statement. What if the number was 1000? So in this case, you won't write 1000 print statements, right? That would be so lengthy. So what we can do in this case is we can use a for loop. Okay, so let's use a for loop. The syntax that I told for loop, let me write it here again. The syntax that I told for loop was first you have to initialize, right? First step is to initialize a variable. Then you have to put some condition. Now what is a condition? Condition will be, suppose here the condition will be that your number that is to be printed should start from 1 and end at 1000. This is the condition. And then you have to increment. Why do you have to increment? Because the first time you print n, the next time you have to increment this. Suppose, let's just wait a minute. Suppose in the first loop your I was equal to 1, so your I will be printed. So your I will be printed. So in the next step you have to print 2, so you need to increment it, right? You have to increment your I, only then will I become 2 and then the 2 will be printed on the screen. So this is the concept of this syntax. Now like I said, initialize. So whenever you initialize, you need a data structure and a variable. You have to print from 1, so you will initialize it to 1. I'm sorry, here semicolon is used, not comma. Yeah. So you understood initialize? You'll write the data type, then you'll name the variable as anything. It is your choice. I'm just choosing I here. And then you have to initialize it to 1 because we have to print numbers from 1 to n. Suppose you had to print from 0 to n, so in this case this would be 0. If you had to print from 5 to n, then in this case it would be 5. Let's keep 1 here only for now. Yeah. Now condition. Condition is that your I will start from 1, but it should end at 1000. So what you'll write is that it should be less than equal to 1000. So this is your condition. It will start from 1 and it will end at 1000. I'm putting here equal to also because we need to include this also. If you had to write print till 999, that is 1 less than 1000, then you wouldn't put this. You'll just write this condition. But we want to print till 1000. Then you have to increment your I, because like I told, first I equal to 1 will be printed, then I equal to 2, then I equal to 3, and so on till 1000. Then open your brackets. Now you'll write a print statement where you have to print I. Okay. Now first let's run this, then I'll explain you step by step, even more in deep. First let's compile it and now run it. So as you can see, the number till 1 to 1000 will be printed. It's going on and on and on. Yeah, till 1000 it has printed. Yes, it has. Let's make this number small so that you can understand. Okay, let's make it till 20 for now, because I need to show you the complete output. Okay, now let's run. See, as you can see, till 20, 1 to 20, the numbers have been printed. Now, if I had to print from 0, I'll put here 0. I'm sorry. Then we'll again compile this. So now after compiling, we'll run. So as you can see, 0 has been included here. So in this way you can print numbers from from one number to another number. Now let's understand this in more detail. Okay, so here initially our I equals to, let's print it from 1. Okay. So initially we have declared that I is equal to 1. What happens is the control of this program goes to the next condition. I less than equal to 20. Here I is equal to 1. So is I less than equal to 20? Yes, it is. So what happens is your print statement is executed. So what happens is after this, 1 will be printed. Okay. So now in the next step, what happens is after this 1 is printed, I plus plus happens. So when I plus plus happens, I becomes 2, right? So when I becomes 2, again condition, we'll check the condition, is I less than equal to 20? I is equal to 2. So is 2 less than equal to 20? Yes. So again 2 will be printed. Okay. So after our 2 is printed, I will go from here to here. That means I plus plus, so I will become 3. So after I becomes 3, again condition, we'll check the condition. 3 less than equal to 20. Yes, it is true. The condition is true. So 3 will be printed. Okay. So after our 3 is printed, the control will move from here to here. So I becomes 4. Again, we'll check the condition. Is 4 less than equal to 20? Yes, 4 is less than equal to 20. So 4 will be printed. Then after this, again from here to here, we'll move from here to here. So I becomes 5. Again, we'll check the condition. 5 is less than equal to 20. 5 will be printed. Now this will go on, so on, till I equal to 19, right? Because 19 less than equal to 20. Now let's check when I becomes 20. So when I becomes 20, we'll check this condition. Is 20 less than equal to 20? We have equal to sign also here. So 20 will be printed. Okay. So after 20 is printed, 20, it will go to I plus plus. So I will become 21. I is incremented. Now again we'll check the condition. 21 is not less than 20. It is greater than 20. So nothing will be printed, right? So after this we'll move to the end of the program. So this is how whole thing works. Now let's take a question where you have to print even numbers from 2, because 1 is not an even number. We'll start from 2. Okay. So let's include our header file. Int main. Okay. So first we'll use a for loop, right? We have to use a for loop. We'll initialize I from 2 because we want to print our even numbers. We can't start from 0 because 0 is neither even nor odd. 1 is odd. That means we have to start from 2. That's why we are here initializing I as 2. Now a condition is that I should be less than equal to, let's suppose we are printing even numbers till 20. And then you have to increment your I at every step. Now the condition inside for loop, we can't just print here I like we did before, because if we do this, 3 will also be printed, 5 will also be printed, 7 will also be printed. First let's execute, because according to the question we only want even numbers, right? We don't want odd numbers. And if we don't write any condition here, all of our numbers will be printed. Let's check how. You see, 3 is also printed, 5 is also printed, 7, 9, 11. These numbers are also printed, but we want only even numbers. So we need to put a condition check here that if our number modulus 2 equal to 0, which means if our number is even, then put the statement here. Okay. Or you can, now number here we've initialized as I. So this condition you can put. Now if you execute this, and then if you run this, you see 3, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. These numbers, all the even numbers are printed, right? So it was very easy. What happens here is that your block goes inside the start of the program. Here, initially our I equals to 2, right? Now I equals to 2. It will go here. It will check the condition. We can see that 2 is less than equal to 20, condition satisfied. So it will go inside the for block. Once the condition is satisfied, it will go inside the for block and it will check this condition. Now this condition says if your I, that is 2, right? 2 modulo 2 equal to 0. Now you know that when you do modulo, you don't write the quotient as the answer, you give remainder. You get remainder as the answer. So modulus means that whatever is the remainder of this I and 2 is your answer. And remainder of 2 and 2 will be, of course, 0. 2 divided by 2 will be equal to 0. So that means 2 is an even number. And once this condition is satisfied, the block will go from line 6 to line 7. That is, it will print 1 here. Sorry, that is, it will print I here. So I 2. I is 2, and so 2 will be printed. Right? So this is how the whole thing works. And after 2 is printed, right, it again goes back to the for. From line 7, it goes back to the line 5, the control of the program. Here, after this, it will increment. That means here, your I becomes 3. Now again condition, we check this condition, I is less than equal to 20. The condition is satisfied. So the control of the program will go to if block. Now here, 3 modulo 2. When you divide 3 by 2, you will not get remainder as 0. So that means your program will return back from here to here. It will not go inside this if block. From line 6, it will go back to line 5. Because the condition is not satisfied. So 3 will not be printed because it never goes inside the if block. It doesn't reaches the cout statement. Okay. Now here again your I will be incremented. So your I becomes 4. Again we'll check the condition. 4 is less than equal to 20. Yes, it is. So it will go inside the if. 4 divided by 2 gives 0 because 2 2s are 4. It will give remainder as 0. So that means your control will go inside if block and it will print 4. So 4 will be printed, right? So after 4 is printed, your I will be incremented, right? So in the next step, your I becomes 5. Again, we check the condition. 5 is less than 20. That means the condition satisfies. It goes here. But 5 divided by 2 does not give us remainder as 0. So it will not go here. Right? It will return from line 6 to line 5. That means 5 will not be printed. Then I becomes 6. Similarly, right? Similarly, it will do this till 20. The same procedure will be followed till 20. And once your I becomes 21, right? This condition is not satisfied. That means it will not go inside if block because your previous condition is not satisfied here because 21 is not less than 20. So it will just go outside the if block and the program terminates. So this is how you can print even numbers. Now, if I ask you to print odd numbers, okay, the procedure is same. Okay, so if you want to print odd numbers, you'll again use a for loop. Int I, since you have to print odd numbers, you will start from 1. Suppose till 10 you have to print. Equal to 10, you don't have to write equal to 10 because 10 is an even number. You can also, you cannot also, because at the last step, if you write equal to at the last step, this condition will not be satisfied and of course 10 will not be printed. But if you don't want to add this, then also it is fine because you only need from 1 to 9, right? 1 to odd numbers from 1 to 9 because 10 itself is an even number. Now let's write for your convenience. Okay, now we can write an if condition where we can write that if mod I mod 2 not equal to 0, that means you have to print. Last time we wrote I mod 2 equal to 0. That means we were writing for even number. Now if the remainder is not equal to 0, that means it's an odd number. Okay. Now let's run this program and see if we have made any mistake. Okay, the program is compiled. Now let's run it. Yeah. So you can see all the odd numbers have printed 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Now let's again go through the working so that it becomes more clear to you. Okay, because as many examples we'll do, the more your concepts will become clear. So initially our I is equal to 1. Okay, now we'll go here. We'll check the condition. 1 is less than equal to 10. Yes, the condition is true. So your block of the program, control of the program will go inside the for block. Inside for block you have if. So it will check this condition. 1 divided by 2. Of course it will never give you 0. That means this condition is satisfied. So since the if condition is satisfied, it will go inside the if block and print I. That means 1 will be printed. Okay. So after 1 is printed, your I will be incremented because you have plus plus here. Okay. Now, yeah, again we'll check the condition. 2 less than equal to 10, condition satisfied. We'll go here inside for block. 2 mod 2 will be equal to 0, and here we have not equal to 0. That means this condition does not satisfy. So it won't go inside if block. It will return from if to for. From 6 to 5 it will go back, right? Okay, so we can write here 2 will not be printed. Okay, so our I now becomes 3. Again, I less than equal to 10, condition satisfies. We'll go from inside the for block. Inside for block we have if. So 3 mod 2 not equal to 0. The condition satisfies because 2 ones are 2 and remainder will be 1. 3 minus 2 gives 1. So we can write here 3 will be printed. Okay, in the next step your I becomes 4. Here 4 less than equal to 10, condition satisfies. Then inside it will go inside for block. Inside for block again we see there's a if block. 4 mod 2 not equal to 0. No, 2 2s are 4. That means remainder will be 0. So here 4 will not be printed, and the control of the program will go back to line 5 directly from if it will go back to for. So on this will happen till I is equal to 10, and when when the last condition dissatisfies, it will reach the end of the program. So this is how you can print odd numbers. Now let's take another example where you have to print from n to 1. Till now we were printing from 1 to n. Now let's print from n to 1, which means suppose your n is 5, so you have to print 5. Then in next line you have to print 4. In next line you have to print 3. In next 2, and then 1. Maybe even 0. Okay, so like this you have to print. So let's see how this is going to work. Okay, suppose you again put a loop from int I equal to n. What is your n? N is your 5 here. Okay, 5. Because you have to start from 5. Previously we used to put here I is equal to 1 or I is equal to 0 because we were printing from 1 to n. But this time we are printing from n to 1. So I is equal to, you can also write n here, right? But then you have to define your n here, and then you have to take input from the user, right? Like we did in previous questions. Now condition is that I should be greater than or equal to 1. right? Previously we wrote I should be less than equal to n because that was the endpoint. Here our I should always be greater than or equal to 1. It should not be 0 minus 1, right? That's why we're putting such condition here. And then I, every time we will minus minus. In the last question we did plus plus because from 1 to n we were printing. From 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. But this time we are decrementing the number. First we are printing 5, then minus 1 4, then minus 1 3, then minus 1 2, and then at last minus 1 1. Now if you print I here, now let's check if this works. This time we have to put the value of n by ourselves because I took your input from the user. Let's suppose it's 10. So you see 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you also want a 0, then we can put here 0. And now if we compile and execute, you will get till 0. So this is how it works. Let's understand this. Okay. So what happens is when our I is equal to n, let's suppose here in this case our n equal to 5, right? N equal to 5, which also means I equal to 5. Now we see that 5 is greater than equal to 0, right? We'll check this condition. Our I is equal to 5. 5 is greater than equal to 0. That means this condition satisfies and we'll move inside for block. Okay, that is print I. That means 5 will be printed. Okay. Now, after this, we'll decrement our I. That means here our I becomes 4. Okay. So, now when our I becomes 4, we'll again check this condition, right? 4 is greater than equal to 0, right? This condition satisfies. So, again, we'll go inside for 4 will be printed. After this, again we'll decrement. That means our I becomes 3. Again check the condition. 3 is greater than equal to 0. We'll go inside for and we'll print I because we have statement print here. 3 will be printed. Now in the next step again I minus minus. So our I becomes 2. 2 is greater than equal to 0. We'll go inside the for block. We see that we have a cout statement of I. So 2 will be printed. After this, our I is again decremented. So it becomes I is equal to 1. 1 is greater than equal to 0. So 1, this condition satisfies. We'll go inside the for block. We see that we have a cout statement. That means 1 will be printed. Now I becomes 0 because from I minus minus we do and from 1 to it becomes 0. Again check the condition. 0 is greater than equal to 0. Equal to sign also we have here. So this condition satisfies and we'll go inside the for block and we see that there's a cout statement. So 0 will also be printed. Now after this, our I becomes minus 1. But minus 1 is not greater than equal to 0. So end. Or we can say our program will be terminated. Because it will not go inside for block, it will just go till the end of the program, right? This last bracket. which means closing of the program. So this is how we have done. Now sorry, I wrote here odd. It's not odd, but just printing numbers from n to n. Now let's print odd numbers. This time let's print odd numbers from 1 to n. So like I said before, I have explained before, for we put a if condition, and if our I mod 2 is not equal to 0, in this case we can write this statement. Okay, so now let's execute this. There is some problem. Right, one more bracket. So our program is compiled. Now let's run. Let's take 10 as our n, and only the odd numbers are printed. 9, 7, 5, 3, 1. Whereas if I change this condition to this, only even numbers will be printed. Okay, so the program is compiled. Let's take this time 15. So you see 14, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 3, 2 and 0. So I hope you understood the concept of increment and decrement in for loop. So the next question for today is sum of n numbers. Okay. So we have to print sum of n numbers. Now what does this question mean? Suppose you're printing numbers from 1 to n, right? Suppose you have 1, you have 2, you have 3, 4, 5. So your task is to calculate 1 plus 2 plus 3, 3 plus 4 plus 5. So this is what you have to calculate. And you can do this using for loop, right? So first we'll print numbers from 1 to n, and then we'll find sum. We'll do it in two different parts, and then we'll combine it. So we have IO stream, okay. So now I'm using a for loop. I'm initializing, as the syntax of the for loop is, we have to first initialize a variable. I'm initializing from 1 because I'm printing numbers from 1 to n, right? Then I'm printing till 5. So my condition will be that I should be less than equal to 5, means 1 to 5 are the numbers that I want to print. And then we'll increment it, right? Now inside this, I'll just print a statement cout I. So now I've written the code where I will print numbers from 1 to n. Okay, let's compile our program and run it. So you can see numbers from 1 to 5 are printed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But the question was that we have to find the sum of these numbers, right? So how do we do this? Now inside what I'll do is initialize int sum equals to 0, or we can initialize this outside of the for loop, right? We can do it anywhere, it's our choice. And then I'll add I to the sum. So what does the statement mean that I've written sum is equal to sum plus I? See, initially I took sum as 0, right? So when our I is equal to 1, sum, this is what the statement means. Now let's move to the next line. Yeah. So when we come here in this for loop, when our I is equal to 1, our sum is equal to, then sum is equal to 0, right? Now What we're doing here is we're printing the statement. Let's forget this statement for now. Okay, we're not printing it, we'll just print the sum. So what we're doing here is this, we are doing this thing. It's just a short form of writing the same, right? These two statements are same. So our formula is sum is equal to sum plus I. So sum is equal to, already we have sum as 0 plus I, value of I is 1. So which gives us 1. Okay. So this is how our sum for 1 to n will be printed. Like I told, the 1 to n numbers are this. Now at the first step, we have only 1, so of course our sum will also be 1. Now when we move to the second step, when our I will be equal to 2, then sum equal to 1, right? Again we come inside this loop because I is 2 and it satisfies the condition, will come inside this loop. Now we'll again put this formula. So sum is equal to, now this time we won't put 0, we will put 1, right? Because our current sum is 1. So 1 plus I, that is 2. It gives us 3, right? So in this step our sum becomes 3. 1 and 2, right? So 2 plus 1 is 3. So till this step our sum is 3. Moving at next, we increment the value of I, so I becomes 3. So when I is 3, our sum is this previous sum, 3. Right? Now again we check that I is 3 and it is less than equal to 5. So we go inside the for loop. Again, sum is equal to, we put the formula. Our current sum is equal to sum plus I. Our current sum is 3. I is also 3, which gives us 6. So till here our sum is 6 and it is 6. 1 plus 2 plus 3 gives us 6. Now moving to the next step. Here our I will be incremented, right? So our I becomes 4. Then our sum, this current sum we have 6. Put 6 here. So sum is equal to sum plus I, that is 6 plus 4, which gives us 10. So till here our sum is 10. Okay. Next, I is equal to 5. Right? Our sum is 10. Okay. So sum is equal to 10 plus this 5. So which gives us 15. So we can say till here our sum has become 15. Now let's in the next line see out this sum. Okay. So now let's compile our program and run. So as we can see that our sum is printed. 1, 3, here also 6, 6, 10, 10, 15 and 15. Now, so this was the sum at each stage. If you want the sum of this as 15 altogether, write this outside the for loop. So this time what you'll get is, you'll only get the total sum, not the sum at each step. Just wait. Yeah. So you can see you got 15 at the end, right? This is the previous output. I didn't write clear screen. So here you have got 15 as the output. Let's remove this. Now you'll only get one output, that is 15. Yeah. So this was how you calculate the sum of n natural numbers. Moving on to the next question. We'll solve another one, that is find the factorial of any given number. So let's understand what's factorial. Let's revise the concepts. Suppose we have 5 factorial. It can be written as 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. And 5 factorial can also be written as 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5. And 5 factorial can also be written as 5 into 4 factorial. Right? How so? We have 5, right? Here. We have written this 5 here. Now left is 1 into 2 into 3 into 4, which is 4 factorial. So we have written 4 factorial. Similarly, for 4 factorial, we can write 4 into 3 factorial. Because 4 factorial is 1 into 2 into 3 into 4, and our 3 factorial is 1 into 2 into 3. So it becomes 4 factorial. Similarly, for 3 factorial, you can write 3 into 2 factorial. Similarly, for 2 factorial, you can write 2 into 1 factorial. Right? So this is how the concept of factorial works. Right? You can note it down. Otherwise, I'm just removing it. Okay, now let's start with our program. Include your header file, your standard namespace, right? Start your program. Now, like we saw, 5 factorial was, let's take a smaller number. 5 factorial was 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5. From this you can see that your I is it keeps on increasing. First it becomes 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, which means I plus plus is happening. So here we'll apply for loop. So according to the syntax of the for loop, first you have to initialize a variable. How will you initialize a variable? We'll start from I because we are starting here also from 1, right? There is no 0. If there would be 0, the factorial becomes, the answer of the factorial will be 0. Okay, that won't make any sense. So now we have condition, right? In the syntax of the for loop, next we have is condition. So till when do we have to run our loop? Till 5, right? After I exceeds 5, you have to terminate. So you have to put a condition here that I should be less than equal to 5, and then you have to keep on increasing your value of I. Right. Now what do you write inside this? Can you see from this that factorial, first let's initialize a factorial as 1. Same thing, you can't initialize as 0 because the answer will become 0. Anything multiplied by 0 becomes 0. So you have to calculate the factorial. Let's take this 5 factorial written here as fact. And then you have to multiply fact by I. How did I say so? First let me run this program and I'll show you the dry run of this code. Okay. So I've written this program. Sorry. Okay, let's compile the code and now run it. So as we can see, at 5 factorial, we have got 120 as our answer. Now how exactly this code runs? Let's have a look. So what happens is, first we have initialized our fact as 1. Right? Fact equal to 1. That means initially the value of a factorial is 1. You can't take it as 0, of course, because anything multiplied with a 0 gives you an answer as 0 and it will be not correct. You won't get the desired answer. So we have to initialize our fact as 1. It is important to initialize it as 1. And in the beginning, we have initialized the value of I, our variable I as 1. Right? So the value of fact is 1, value of I is 1. After I equal to 1 comes I less than equal to I. Oh, sorry, 5. So when our value of I is 1, this satisfies the condition because 1 is less than 5. So we move inside the for block. Line 7. Line 7 says fact is equal to fact into I. Apply this formula. Fact equal to fact into I. What is the value of fact? 1. What is the value of I? 1. So what gives us? What does it give? 1. So here are 1. Yeah, you have got 1. So 1 into. Right? It will be something like this. Because at last we have to multiply all the numbers to get the factorial. Okay. Now you have done this. The control of the program goes back to the for loop. What happens is your value of I is incremented first. So value of I becomes 2. Fact is from the above calculation, it is 1. Again, what happens is you check the condition. 2. 2 is less than equal to 5. Condition satisfies. So here you will go inside the for block and fact equal to fact into I. Fact is 1. Here fact is 1. So you put the value of fact as 1 and the value of I as 2. So you get your fact as 2. What do you do here? Multiply it 2. Now after you have done this, again the control of the program goes to the for loop. Value of I is incremented first. So your I becomes 3. Your fact according to the previous calculation is 2. Again apply the formula because here your condition satisfies. Right? 3 is less than 5. So you go inside this, apply the formula fact equal to fact into I. Fact is 2. I is 3, which gives us 6. Right? Now, yeah, we have done this step. Now go back here. Okay? So when you go back here, your I will be incremented. Your I becomes 4. Sorry, 4. And your fact is 6. Right? So your I is 4, that is 4 is less than 5, condition satisfies. You go inside the for block and you see this fact equal to fact into I. Fact equal to fact into I. Fact is 6 into I 4, which gives us 24. Moving next. Okay, so you have done this. Now again the control of the program goes back to the for loop. Your I is first incremented. That means your I becomes 5 and your fact is 24 now. And fact equal to fact into I you'll do. Because 5 equal to 5 equal to is also there. That means your condition will satisfy when your I is equal to 5. Right? So the control of the program will go inside the for block, which is the 7th line, and fact equal to fact into 5. 24 5s are 120. So here you've got the factorial, your final answer as 120. Now after this, when you increment your I in the next step, it does not satisfy this condition because here your condition will be false because I is not less than 5, it is greater than 5 because I is 6. So here the control will not go inside the for block, right? This statement will not be executed. Simply you will go outside the for block. Whatever is your answer will be printed and termination of the program. Final output will be printed and your program will terminate. Okay, so this is how you calculate a factorial of any number, right? If it was 6 here, then also you will get your answer. Let's execute one last time and compile, run. As you see, you have got your answer as 720. You can check the factorial of 6. Okay, so we are done here. Okay, so now we know the concept of for loop. So there is another type of loop which is known as while loop. Now what is while loop? Okay, so like in for loop, what we used to do, we used to first initialize, right? Then we used to put a condition and then increment, right? The concept of every loop, whether for or while, or there is another one that is known as do while loop. The concept of all the three loops is same, just the syntax is different. So let me get you clear with the syntax of all the three loops. Okay, so then we do increment or we also do decrement. I explained you both using examples, and then we use a bracket, and then comes the body of the code. So this is how you use a for loop. Let me write here, for loop. Coming on to the while loop. Like I said, all types of loops are same, just there's a difference of syntax. What we do in while loop is first we initialize, right? Suppose this is the thing that I initialized. First we need, sorry, first we initialize. Then we write our keyword while and open a bracket inside which we write a condition, right? And then what we do is increment or decrement. Okay, this initialize was here. And then we close our bracket after this. I hope this is clear to you. The only difference is that we write everything inside one block. Here we write in steps. We first initialize. Here was also initialize. We first initialize. Then we put the while keyword and then we write in condition. And after that we increment or decrement. So how do we increment or decrement? Just like we did in for loop. Either you write I plus plus or you write I minus minus and then put a semicolon to terminate, right? Now let's understand while loop with an example to make it more clear, right? So as the syntax of the while loop says, first we have to initialize. So I'm initializing a variable I as 0. Then we have to put a keyword while and then inside condition. Let's put our condition I is less than 5. You can also put I is less than equal to 5. There's no problem. You can write anything inside the condition. Then you write the block of code. Let's suppose I'm printing our I, right? And then last step is to increment or decrement. In this case, I'm incrementing our I. Let's execute this and check what result it gives us. Now run the code. And you can see that it has printed from 0 to 5. And the same thing if we do in for loop, then also it will give us the same answer, right? We have checked that. There's no need to check it again. So this is how you use a while loop. Now if we come to do while loop, the third and the last category of loop, let's first understand its syntax. So it's very simple. First you write your keyword do, and then inside you write some code. After that you write your keyword while. Sorry. After the bracket we'll write while, and then condition. Here in this case you won't put a bracket, you'll just put a semicolon to terminate because you've already written the code. You don't need to open brackets again to write any code, right? That's what we use brackets for. So this is the syntax. You can note it down. Now moving on to an example. Same example like we did for while loop. We'll take same example so that you clearly understand the difference between both of them. Using namespace std. Int main. Okay. Now write your do. Before that you have to initialize. Let's initialize I is equal to 0. This remains same. Then the syntax says write your code. I'm printing the statement and incrementing I. And then according to syntax we have to write our condition. Let our condition be this. Now if we execute this and run, see, same output. So the only difference is that you write condition afterwards and initialization in the block of code is first. I hope you understood the difference between all the three loops. There's not much difference, only the syntax is different, so you need to keep in mind the syntax, and you'll understand the syntax more clearly as you practice more and more questions. So you can practice questions on HackerRank also, because I'll just show you. There are so many questions to practice on C++ because I've told you almost all the basics. You can start practicing from now only. So here you can see that there are so many questions, these challenges, all of these challenges you can solve, like, basics of C++, how to take input output, basic data types, conditional statements, if else, loops you have understood. So all of these questions you can practice. Let's see this challenge. First challenge. So the first challenge is that it is a simple challenge. We are starting out by printing the most famous computing phrase of all time. In the editor below, use either printf or cout, right? So we are using C++, so we'll use cout. So there is nothing, you just have to print hello world, and they've already given you the code. So like I told you, or I think I have solved this question. I don't know if they've given it before, but let me check. Okay, so here you have seen that our first statement is hashtag include iostream, which we have always been using in all of our programs. All these three statements are similar. And then the question output is hello world. You just have to print this thing. So you'll just use cout statement, right? Let's run this code. Yeah. I think I've already solved this question. Anyways, so this is how you can solve more and more questions and start practicing and brushing up your facts. Here, let's solve this one. Now here you can see that there are so many header files, right? There is iostream also, but there are so many other header files. Why? Now let's see, read this question and understand why. Now here the question says that in C++ you read, okay, it's just telling about cout and cin statement, right? So okay, I'll read the entire question. In C++, you can read a single white space separated token of input using cin and print output. I've told you we can print using cout and take input from the user using cin. That's what they've done here, right? They've declared string s and an integer, and then they have taken the value of it from the user, and then they're using cout to print the values of s and n, right? The task is to read three numbers. Okay, you have to initialize three abc, that is you have to initialize abc, then you have to take input from the user for this abc, and then you have to print ABC, the sum of ABC. Like here, ABC is 1 to 7. So you have to give the output of these three numbers, A plus B plus C, which is very easy, right? You might have understood till now. Now they've used math, studio, vector and all. You can only use IOStream also, but there is another file to replace all of the header files that are present in C++. That is #include bits/stdc++.h. So this header file is a new file. I'm introducing this new concept to you. This is the file for that you can write, and after this you do not ever have to write any other header file, right? There is no need to write IOStream, algorithm, vector, math, anything. Just always keep a habit of using this file, right? So this file is very important. You don't have to write IOStream and all once you write this file, header file. Now according to the question, we have to take three numbers, int A, B and C. After that we have to take input from the user, A, B, C. After that you have to just A plus B plus C. Let's run this. Okay, now let's submit and check if all the test cases are passing. Yes, all the test cases are passed. So like this, try to practice all of the questions that include the concepts that I've already told you, like these basic data types, conditional, for loop and etc. Right? Try to solve these questions. There's an easy, medium and hard level. These questions are of easy level. All of them are of easy level, so you can solve till for loop. Okay, that's all. Thank you so much.